How many cars? August 2023, how many cars should a neighbor have? 2 or 3? How about 5? Maybe 6? Who am I to say? It has been 6 weeks since I was able to park in front of my house. We live in a small crescent with no driveways or garages in the front. I know the street is public and I cannot lay claim to any spot. I guess back in the day this was not an issue. But people these days. Not sure why 2 people need so many cars. Anyway, I noticed the neighbor across the crescent from me glaring out the window from time to time. He is an elderly man. I don't know much about him. I never see him come or go. Well, not for many years. But he just sits and glares out the window. His house is the biggest in the crescent and I'm sure he has probably lived there longer than anyone. He never yells out the window or responds to waves or anything. It's a bit odd. He used to have an old Cadillac parked out front. It never really moved much. I remember when we first moved in, I was about 11. Back then, people only had 1 car per household. I used to see him washing his car every Sunday. He took a lot of pride in that Cadillac. Back then, people would come and go, but the funny thing is I don't remember seeing them leave sometimes. Sometimes, the tow truck would come to pick up vehicles from next to his house. I guess I never really thought much about it till now. You see, about a week or so ago, police showed up at the old man's door. I'm not sure what it was about. It was definitely weird. We will come back to that later. My neighborhood is not one where you see many cops. I know he was having problems with the neighbor on my right. Someone was calling the city about his Cadillac, and they came and towed it a few times. I guess the consensus was that my neighbor on the right was calling. Not sure why people assumed this. How would they know it was them? Is it not supposed to be confidential? Anyway, we will come back to that later. I did notice that when parking bylaw officers came out about the Cadillac, 2 ladies from one of the houses would come out and point at my neighbor on the right. The 2 ladies were not very friendly to us either. I guess you could call them Karens. However, my neighbors on the right would constantly park their cars in front of the old man's house. It did not mean they were calling the city. Still don't know why 2 people need 6 cars. Anyway. So, 3 days ago the police were back. After a short while, they led the old man out in handcuffs. The next day he was back. So, I guess what happened was my neighbors on the right were missing for about 2 weeks. I heard through the grapevine that the Karens were saying they saw the old man late at night looking around my neighbor on the right's property. So, he was brought in for questioning. So today, I was watching the news on TV and there was breaking news. I guess that the police had come back with a warrant and found some remains in my neighbor's backyard. The old man had been secretly killing and burying people in his yard since the late 70s. But he was nowhere to be found. I hope my neighbors on the right are okay though. I do feel kind of bad, you see. I was the one calling the city about the Cadillac. Well, it's getting late now, so I think I'll turn in for the night. That's weird. Someone's knocking at my back door.